Welcome to the office. We're going to take a look at an example using cosets. This example is actually split into three separate parts or three different examples. The first, we find left cosets. The second, we find right cosets, where we also observe that the left and right cosets are or are not the same. And then we take a look at rewriting the multiplication table for the original group in such a way that the cosets are written together. Okay, so the elements from one coset are written together, elements from the next coset are written together, and so forth. And then we'll take a look and see if it appears that those cosets themselves form a group called the coset group. So we want to take a look at those three things, and we'll do this for one group and subgroup, and then we'll do it all over again for a different group and subgroup. All right, so let's take a look here at our first example. We want to work within the group, the roots of unity, the eighth roots of unity. Eighth roots of unity here. This is a cyclic group generated by one of the roots of unity. The textbook that we're utilizing has chosen to use zeta as a representative for that generator, or what is the typical generator for the group. So when we're talking about U8, we're talking about e to the I. Let's say we take our 2 pi and divide it by 8, so pi over 4. E to the I pi over 4 is our generator in this case, zeta. So we have our generator zeta, and we want to consider it to the fourth power. That's what we're working with right now. So 1 and zeta to the fourth power as our subgroup. Notice that zeta to the fourth times zeta to the fourth gives us 1, and 1 times zeta to the fourth, of course, gives us zeta to the fourth. So we have a subgroup there. That looks good. All right. From here, we want to try and figure out the left cosets for this subgroup. To determine the left cosets, what we would like to do is we would like to simply take each element and multiply on the left by our subgroup. So I can start with 1. 1 times our subgroup. I'll just denote it as h here. If you wanted to, you can make a note. We're saying h is this subgroup. So 1 times h is equal to, in its most basic sense, all I'm doing is taking each of the elements and multiplying by 1 on the left. So 1 times h contains the elements 1 and zeta to the fourth power. Of course, that doesn't do anything, so that's just 1 and zeta to the fourth power. You'll notice that if I were to multiply on the left by zeta to the fourth power, I would also get zeta to the fourth times 1 is zeta to the fourth, and zeta to the fourth times zeta to the fourth is 1. So this is actually the same as multiplying on the left by zeta to the fourth. All right, next, we're looking at zeta to the first power. If I want to apply the basic definition, I'm just multiplying on the left by zeta. And of course, that's just zeta to the first power and zeta to the fifth power. And that can be observed as being obtained. So we obtained it in this case by multiplying by zeta to the first. So if it's hard to follow along here, I'm just looking at these two columns. So I'm running through these elements, 1 times these two elements, zeta times these two elements. You'll notice that that's the same as multiplying by zeta to the fifth. On the left. The next would be zeta squared. I'm not going to write out our definition each time. It's relatively basic, fortunately. So now I'm working with zeta squared, and I end up with zeta squared and zeta to the sixth. And that's the same as multiplying by zeta to the sixth. And finally, I've got zeta cubed, giving me zeta cubed and zeta to the seventh, which is the same as multiplying by zeta to the seventh. So that gives me multiplying on the left by each of the 8 elements, right? I have multiplying on the left by 1 and zeta to the fourth, zeta to the fifth, zeta squared, and zeta to the sixth, zeta cubed, and zeta to the seventh. So the left cosets are exactly these sets that we have obtained. 1, zeta to the fourth, zeta to the fifth, zeta squared, zeta to the sixth, and finally zeta cubed and zeta to the seventh. Excellent. So these are our left cosets. As simple as that. For now, that's all that we were interested in observing. Join me again for looking at right cosets, and then we'll compare our left and right cosets to see if they're the same.